Hey y'all, it's your girl Steph, and I'm here with Miss Bri. Miss Bri is the hostess of Blowing Lines, and it's such an honor to be here with her. I agreed to do this because a lot of Miss Bri's topics is things that people want to hear about or get knowledge on. However, they are afraid or they don't know where to go. I don't always agree with how Miss Bri brings across her messages, but trust me when I tell you, it's things that it's happening today and yesterday and probably tomorrow. It will still be happening. Things that you need to know about.
You guys, I'm so excited. This is another hostess that's going to be joining us on season 2. I'm your hostess, Bri. We're going to talk about some stuff, just a FYI out there. This is my son's grandmother, my baby daddy's mama. So if you see a little awkwardness with me based on the content, just work with me, guys. I'm trying here.
So, guys, what we agreed to talk about today, our topic is mental health and how it affects in romantic relationships.
Why are we talking about mental health?
Mental health is definitely something that I'm passionate about. Not only am I passionate about it, it's my line of profession. I am a clinician. I work in the mental health field and with substance usage. And as pretty much everyone else, it affects us personally. People in my family that are close to me suffer from mental health.
Yeah. Me, I'm one of them guys. She's talking about me.
Well, not just you. Now, you said that, I didn't.
I think that it's really great that you're going to be on this podcast because there's so much mental illness in the strip club and it presents itself in many different ways. Whether people are strippers or not, they can relate and they can understand this because there's just so much mental illness in our country and I'm assuming in the world, really. I don't know. You would know more about that than me.
Yes. Well, I don't have my statistics off the top of my head, but you're absolutely right. But I would like for you to give my audience a little background because I'm sure your audience is familiar with it, but let's talk about what industry you're in and what brought you there.
So, what brought me there was money. I was just interested in it. And no, I can't. What brought me there was interest because I didn't need money when I started. What kept me there was the money. And I know some of your listeners may be a little older. So, blowing lines is a term, is the name of the podcast because it's doing lines of cocaine. It's doing drugs. And doing drugs is a really big thing in the strip club.
Well, let me just say this to you. Yes, my audience is older, but I'm sure people that are even older than I can attest to whether they used or didn't use that cocaine has been around forever and a day.
Yeah, I love the movie Blow. Brings back memories.
Now, let's not glorify it now.
You know what? She's right. I have to be truthful to you. Doing drugs can be really, really fun, but it can also be terrible, and it can lead you down horrible, horrible roads that I've seen myself go down, that I've seen customers from the club go down, and that I've seen girls that I work with just become so addicted. I have to ask you a question because, you're very honest when you speak to me, and I love that because I can learn from your experiences. And it's good that you're honest when you speak because you help people. You help people through your words because I have some wisdom, yes, but the older you get, the more you see things and from different perspectives and you have a better understanding.
Well, we would hope that. But anyway.
That's the goal.
Right. Well, when I say we would hope that, I wasn't speaking in terms of you. I'm just speaking in terms of people in general.
Exactly.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because age doesn't necessarily give you wisdom.
Thank you. Okay. There are like 50-year-olds that are still stupid jackasses. Just saying.
Oh my goodness.
So I remember you would tell me that when you were young, when you were younger,
okay,
you were really into like the club scene, like a lot of us are. And you would tell me that like those parties would be wild.
Yes. Before I decided to become a mom, I definitely was in the clubs. I would go clubbing 7 days a week. I would leave work and go to clubs, leave clubs and go to after hours, go home and shower and go to work and start it all over again. So, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's fun. It sounds like fun to me, but I have a kid that needs to be to school at like 7 in the morning.
Well, as I said before I decided to be a mom.
Right? Aren't you happy that we did it?
Yes.
Because partying like that is a lot of fun, and I think that people should experience it in their lives, and a lot of people don't, but it can be a lot of fun.
Well, one of the things that I talk about and I look at your generation and my children's generation, when I was younger and you guys' age, there was so much to do opposed to how it is tonight today. For an example, each night there was a club that you would go to on that particular night. So I don't see that today.
I don't, you know what? I remember when I was into the party scene, there would definitely be days out of the week that would be dull. There wasn't, well, around our area, guys, we're from Massachusetts. So Massachusetts clubs close at 2. And it can be difficult to find a good place to party at during some of the days of the week, like a Monday or a Tuesday. So you're right. Usually we would go partying on like Thursdays to maybe even Sundays. You can find good spots, but some days were challenging to find a good place to go to.
Yeah. One of the things that I would like for us to touch on is earlier when you and I were talking, you were talking about how in the strip clubs that there's a lot of usage of different types of drugs. Why do you think that is? Outside of it being fun, as you said earlier.
Because we are batshit crazy. Like that's the truth. Strippers have a bad reputation for valid reasons. A lot of us have mental health issues. A lot of us have a history of sexual abuse. And that's something that's really prevalent in the adult entertainment industry, whether it's pornography, whether it's just like modeling, like adult workers have been sexually abused. Not all of them, but a good amount of time. I'm sorry that I'm drinking, guys. That makes no sense. A good portion of them have been abused, of us, I should say, have been sexually assaulted in some way. So we use it as a coping mechanism to get through work, because a lot of girls, and I used to be that way, I used to hate dancing, but I loved the money. So it would be a way to just get us through a shift.
Now, it's funny that you say that because my next thing was going to be, if I may play devil's advocate here a bit, some might say, well, if you have experienced abuse in some type of form, why would you go and work in that industry?
So this is your field. You tell us why, because I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Miss Comeback. Okay.
The best questions are sometimes answered with the question.
Well, I can't say that I can answer that because I have not sat down and did an assessment with someone that have been sexually assaulted, molested, abused in some form, to do an assessment to try to get a better understanding where, why they are there and what keeps them there. I know if I play devil's advocate again, some may say that, there are other people that have experienced the same thing and chose not to get into that industry. And let me just say something for your audience. You know this about me, and my audience know this about me. I am not judging anyone. Because who am I to judge anyone? I mean, if I'm honest with you, and I don't know how real I want to keep this, but when I was maybe 18 and 19, I considered dancing, okay?
Shut the front door. You never told me that.
Well, some things, I don't know. We're going to edit this. You all may not hear this, okay? But no, if I'm being honest with you, because even when I was 18 and 19, the fast money. And I can remember going downtown for an interview. And I can remember being in a room, and I know, because for my age right now, my body still is banging. So
your body is banging. F the age. Your body is banging, period.
So you can imagine how it looked when I was younger. And I remember being examined through a two-way mirror. And yes, and I did not get the job. I was a little disappointed, but fast forwarding to today, I understood that that was not a part of my walk. That wasn't a part of who I was destined to be.
You are a natural born hustler, because just because you're not a stripper, you're still a hustler. You never stripped. And you like the finer things in life.
Absolutely.
We'll say that.
Absolutely.
Exactly. You guys don't want to see her closet. Or maybe you do. You guys probably do want to see her closet. You do. It's a nice closet. So I know who you are right now. You're a natural born hustler. And the money that you would have made back then is probably double than what we make today. You know what I mean? Maybe even triple, because the money was better back in the day. So what do you think would have happened if you would have got hired there?
Well, I don't even look back on that now, because I understand, who I am today, that that's not something that was destined for me. And maybe that experience there keeps my mind open to being understanding and not to prejudge or judge anyone for what they choose to do. Because my mother, God rest her soul, we just went to honor her a couple of days ago for you guys' birthday. And let me tell you something about this woman. This woman would say to you, when it comes down to feeding my kids, I will sell you know what out of both bloomer legs, okay? And she had a vulgar mouth like Miss Hostess over here, so I'm trying to keep it PG for you all. And I respect that about her. You would have some people to say that, oh, there's other ways. Yes, there may be other ways. And I do believe that too. But who am I to knock someone for what decisions they choose to make for their lives?
So you have to give the audience a little preview about who you are, or a little analysis, I suppose, about who you are, because what you said is really profound. And it's because because of who you are. Hang on, I got it. It's because of who you are. I'm about to pop another hard seltzer, guys. So just ignore me. I'm vibing over here, enjoying this interview. You are a religious woman, and religious people are judgmental as fuck. And I know that.
Oh my goodness! Now, could she not find a better word to say?
They are extremely judgmental. And they can be the worst critics, even though God is not supposed to be a judgmental. He doesn't judge us. But for some reason, especially religious women that are devout like you can be the worst on younger people like me. So I want the audience to know this about you, because when you say no judgment, that's something very basic. But when it's no judgment coming from somebody that is a Christian, Pentecostal?
Well, I'm Pentecostal. I like to, she always referred to me as a very religious person. I am spiritual based. In my opinion, religion is like a doctrine. I am far from the doctrine, if you will. My relationship with God is what pushes me. What I like to say, who am I to judge? But I want to live my life so that I don't have to preach or teach, but lead by example. It's my hope that something in my life could make someone turn to doing something different, if that's what they choose
100.
or desire to do. And like I tell people, we as faith believers, Christians, however you want to put it, is that we can't make it seem like, oh, I got my stuff all together because, I believe I'm serving God, this, that, and the third. Because it's hard. It's a hard walk, okay? We sin. See, people may think, and this is what I like to talk about, people may think because what you do of what your friends do. Oh, they're going to go to hell. Guess what? I can sleep with the man that I'm not married to. That's the sin in God's eyes.
Yes.
I can tell a lie on my neighbor. That's the sin in God's eye. So we need to keep this thing real.
Absolutely. I was going to say abso-effing-lutely, but see, I'm doing good. I didn't say
Yes,
abso-effing-lutely.
You are. So, I just feel like, that's so important. And that's the reason why I cannot judge anyone. Who's to say what tomorrow holds for you,
No, you're so right. And the thing is that I'm honest about myself because I know what it's. I've been in hell already. Like, I've already been in hell. And I've came out of hell. So I'm not there anymore. And I know what it's like to suffer with mental illness and substance abuse. And it's a really difficult thing that I may or may not struggle with my entire life. But here's the thing. There are people that are struggling with it to the degree that I was, or even worse. So I'm sharing my story because just like you, I want to help somebody.
Right. One of the things that I tell my coworkers or my counterparts in the field, that you have to be oh so careful how you treat the next person, because I live by this. It's only for the grace of God that I'm not sitting on the other side of that desk. Understand that. And I mean that with everything in me. That is so important. And another thing I want to talk about, who did God use to do his work? It wasn't people that had it all together. David had a woman's, and he's one of my favorite people from the Bible. David? Yes,
David? Okay.
King David,
okay.
Yes, had Bathsheba's husband killed because he done slept with this woman and got her pregnant, okay? While her husband's out there fighting for the country.
And he was a king that God chose.
Right, exactly. So the thing of it is, God doesn't necessarily choose people that have it all together. Because there was a point in time that Miss Steph over here didn't have it all. I still don't have it all together, okay? I'm still a work in progress, okay?
I love that you're saying that. I don't mean to cut you off, and I want you to continue, but I just have to say something because there is no limitation to the amount that we can grow in this life.
As I was saying that, I still don't have it all together. We are all a work in progress. And soon as we realize that, it's so much better that we can do. There are days like if it wasn't for the grace of God, I don't know where I'd be. I mean, in terms of just wanting to knock someone's head off, or whatever. But I know that that's not something that he would want me to do. So, I try to think. So we are all human, and we have to remember that. That is so important.
Can I ask you a question since we're talking about mental health here?
Mm-hmm.
So you know me as, you know that I've dated your son. I have dated your son for a very long time.
Yes.
So you know that I danced the whole time. So you've probably seen mental illness in some of my behaviors for a while because of the field that you're in.
Right.
So I'm not mentally weak. I'm just traumatized and I have a lot of things. I'm getting stronger though. I view you as a person that is mentally strong, but have you ever struggled with mental illness yourself?
Well, I feel at some point in time, we all, to what degree? I can remember, and it can be triggered and it comes out in different ways. For an example, as you know, I've slowed down a lot now, but working all the hours in the jobs that I work, that's an addiction right there.
You're a workaholic.
Right, exactly. Escaping. What was I escaping? And as I get older, I'm learning even more and more about myself. I have never been diagnosed, but I have like an OCD behavior when it comes to certain things. I can get fixated on something, and I wanted my significant other used to tell me I want things perfect. And I would get angry with him for telling me that because it wasn't, I'm like, I don't want anything perfect. I don't try to be perfect. But when you're on the outside looking in, it appears that way. And as I more started analyzing myself.
Self-awareness.
Yes, absolutely. started analyzing and becoming more self-aware and started just looking at situations, yes, I said he could be right. I would stay fixated on something until I thought it was perfect. And guess what happens? If I had an appointment, I would be late for that appointment.
That's really deep. I have to tell you something, because when you are in a relationship with somebody, like, I know your son on a different, and you're very close with him, but I know him in ways that you'll
Absolutely.
never know him. And
Absolutely.
I never got that impression about you, but your significant other did. And we were talking before we started recording about how mental illness presents itself in relationships, and it can be strenuous because I'm batshit crazy, as I said, and her son has had to deal with a lot of those elements. And in the strip club, you have the pimps and the hoes. You have pimps that exploit women with mental illnesses. So, from your professional opinion, how do you think mental illness plays a part in relationships?
Well, it can play so many different parts. And what I try to help people to understand, that even like how you may give an example how pimps would try to control, who wants to control another human being? There is something lacking. I don't want to say lacking. Let me not use that word. There is something going on within that person that they feel the need to control another human being. And a lot of time that's because something that has happened to them. And not only in a pimp prostitute relationship, even in day to day, what we want to consider to be normal
Pimp and hoe relationship. She won't say hoes, guys. She's saying prostitutes. Sorry, go ahead.
even in your what, and I'm doing the quote signs, normal relationships, you can find that too. And if you dig deep into that person's background or their history, you will find at some point in time in their life they felt like their control was taken from them.
Oh, wow. This,
Yes.
keep going. I'm listening. This is deep.
And a lot of times you will find if a person does not get help, first you have to identify that there's a need for help. And if you don't get that help, it will come out in relationships and other areas. Case in
Wow.
point, let me tell this. I'm going to share a little more about me. I didn't think I was going to get this deep. I have control issues. Now, my control issues is not necessarily controlling other people, but it may end up trying to control other people, because my mentality has always been anything that affects me, I'm going to have control over. And the reason why that is because I am also a sexual, um, I've been sexually abused as a child growing up. And I felt then that I had no control over that situation. And my relationship with men can kind of be, very few men I have respect for, especially ones that I've been in relationships with. I don't want to say I belittle them because that's definitely not what I do. I intentionally do it. But I was so fixated on not being in control that I had that mentality. I don't need you. I don't want you. If you can't do anything for me, I can't be bothered. That all stemmed from my trauma that was never addressed. So as I got older, and even like I talked about my significant other, he opened my eyes to a lot of things that I needed to work on and to get help for. And not to say that, we both was a hot mess at times, okay? And we both are in the field, okay? And both have gone through counseling. So even the counselors need counseling.
I have to go back on so much that you said there. The first thing that you touched on is why some people can be controlling, like the pimp and hoe relationship. Everybody always looks at the hoe like something's wrong with her. But what you kind of said there is that the pimp has mental illness too.
Absolutely.
And then there was just so much to that. That was loaded. I appreciate you sharing that with us, and I know the listeners will appreciate it too. You said that you're a hot mess at times because you're a human, and that's normal. So it's okay to be a hot mess at times. It's
Mm-hmm.
not okay to be a hot mess, but you are showing a lot of self-awareness and self-acceptance, and this is why you have progressed in life. You know what I mean? How did you get to the point of self-progression?
There were points that I didn't want to change, but I was very much aware of my behavior. Anyone that knows me know that I can sit back and I've always not critique myself or not belittle myself, but I would easily say, okay, I know I'm this, I know I'm that, I know I do this, I know I do that. There were times that I did not want to change because I was comfortable. That was a shield that I put up. That was a protection mechanism that I used. But as I got older and wiser, because at the end of the day, I didn't feel good about that. As much as I tried to portray that I was feeling good about these things that I did. For an example, I had no problem with cursing a person out. I would go from 0 to 100 in a split second. And that's not how you handle things. And if I'm honest with you, one of the things that attracted me to you is that I could see myself in some of the behaviors that you did, that feisty aggressiveness that
I fought her kid, you guys. I fought her daughter.
well, I wasn't talking about that.
I did because I'm batshit crazy, but I love her daughter. She is my son's auntie. Love you.
I was not talking about that. But anyway,
She punched the shit out of me, too.
you better watch your mouth. But there were just certain things that I knew that were unhealthy and that I needed to change. And that's what, like I said, we are all a work in progress. I don't know.
No, you know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You are. And you don't know the rest yet, but you will.
Right.
Something that is so interesting that you said, too, that I have to touch back upon. I was controlled a lot as a child.
Mm-hmm.
So we're so different from each other because there might be similarities, but I was controlled as a child, and my response to it was to continue to allow people to control me, which is completely opposite than you.
And you know what? It's so funny because even when I think back, even before the not before the sexual assault happened, but as long as I can remember, I always had that feisty fighting persona.
She still does.
Personality. I can remember. I think I've shared this with you. I'm the only girl of 3 brothers, but grew up with 2 brothers, and one of my brothers had did something, and I scratched him or did something. So my mother was sitting on the, I could never forget this. She was cutting my fingernails. As soon as she finished, I waited patiently and I dug into her legs and I said, I can still scratch. What child does that?
Your grandson, when I was at church with
Yes,
you,
yes.
and I gently just tugged my son's ears. It wasn't even a tug. It was a very light. He turns to me in church next to his grandmother, okay?
Yes.
Pulls my ear so hard and says, "You want me to do that to you?" My son gets it from you, okay?
I was going to say, well, we all know where he gets it from. So I have always had that feisty spirit to defend myself. That has always been as long as I can remember. But yes, definitely when the control piece, because it happened by, a man, someone that I trusted, and it took me a long time to trust again in relationships. And my thing with that is I'm going to get you before you get me. I had that type of mentality, meaning that if I felt uneasy in the relationship, I felt that you were doing something, I would exit. I would exit the relationship. And I used
That's really deep. It really
yes.
is.
And my mentality back then was that I don't need, like I said, I don't need you. You know what I'm saying? I'm better without you. So once I left, it was no coming back.
I have to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
I do, because we're talking about control here. And I have to go back to the pimp and hoe relationship or pimp and prostitute, whatever you want to call it. Because when I first started dancing, pimps were everywhere. like girls were trying to get me to go home with them. They like be their daddy, like meet their daddy, you know, fuck their daddy. Sorry guys, I said the F word again. Oops. You know what I mean? Like that's what they wanted. And that comes from control. So why do you think that women like myself have allowed others to control us, and to a degree that we harm ourselves?
I think that, and I'm not going to say that it's not self love, but I think that,
Oh no, I did not love myself for a long time.
right.
You're right.
Um, I think that wanting to be accepted, wanting to feel belong, wanting to feel love. Earlier, we were talking about, children, and it's not only with children. We talked about that attention, whether it be negative or positive attention. A child would thrive off of that. It's whatever you give them. What he show, if he's longing for attention, and you don't respond to his positive stuff, but you respond to the negative things that he does or she does, they're going to continue. So it's still, we all have like that childlike in us. We all do. And it comes out in different ways. So if you're a person that is longing for attention, it doesn't matter which way it's coming. Some women, I've heard, believe that unless a man is beating them up, they don't feel love. Somewhere in their life,
Wow.
yes,
That is really sad.
somewhere in their life that was translated or got mistranslated, that that's how you show love. I can remember my grandmother used to whoop me, and she would tell me, I'm doing this because I love you. And I used to say, well, don't love me then.
You know what? Because I have to say something. I was I'll say disciplined as a child because it was generational. I have hit my son before, and in very limited times, and I won't do it now because I realize now it's child abuse.
Right.
100%. If we can't go around in public hitting people when they piss us off, we should not do it to our children. It is child abuse. However, my grandmother, she used to beat us with whips. And my mother would use belts and stuff like that. And they would never, I don't think, intentionally try to kick the crap out of us, but they did. And it lowered my self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I can't even say they kicked the crap out of us because that's too extreme. But they took away our dignity when they put their hands on us.
Mm-hmm.
So I realize this, and I'm so thankful that I'm breaking a generational curse by not me and your son. He doesn't hit any one of his kids either.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like I said, I have. But I realized quickly that is not the way to handle those situations. Because I have seen women in the club come in bruised up, getting their ass beat. And I have been women myself. I never got my ass beat, but I have been physical with men, and they have been physical with me. It's sad.
You know, it's funny that you say that. And like I said, I'm going to be as transparent. And that's one thing, you know this about me. I try to be as transparent as possible. I can honestly say that when I was growing up, with my grandparents, my grandfather probably whooped me maybe many times as you have on one hand, maybe with one putting your thumb down. My grandmother, on the other hand, of course, she got me more. But I can honestly say, and that's not something that I'm proud of, I probably got my children more than I was whipped. And I think a lot of times, too, we get so focused on doing the things, not doing the negative things that was done to us, that we fall short in other areas. Like, for an example, as you know, I was raised by my grandmother, felt an issue of abandonment from my mom. My kids can never say, well, I don't believe.
They might. That's the thing, because you never know.
Right.
Because what you parented you parented from your perspective.
Right.
And they were being parented too, I don't know the word, from their perspective.
Right.
And I'm not saying you're a good mom. You're a great mom. Your kids
Right.
love you. You're very close with all four of them. But you never know your child's perspective.
Right. What I was going to say, that I was so focused on not abandoning them
Got
that
you.
I may have false lack in other areas. For example, my
Got
mother,
you.
great good point. with my mom. My mom probably, I can't tell you how many times, maybe 3 times, 4 times that I can remember. She slapped me one time when I was 14, and maybe a couple of times when I was young, although she didn't raise me, but she was not one for big for putting her hands on children. She was not. I don't know if it stemmed from, how she was brought up, but I felt in other areas that I was not protected, where I made sure my children were protected. So I'm just saying, like, with parenting, I tell my children that neither one of you all came with the manual. We're going to make mistakes.
We did not get a fucking
You better
manual.
shut your mouth, girl.
We didn't. We didn't. You know who I'm talking to, you little two little things. We didn't get a manual for you guys. We're learning.
Right, right. And the thing people have to understand too is that each child is different. So what work for one. I mean, there are certain things that is across the board. But each person is individual, and that's how you have to parent them.
But you know what? And this is something that I learned. I learned that I'm an individual.
Yes, absolutely.
And I am parenting with a shitload of trauma and a shitload of fucked upness.
Oh my God.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm really not though, guys. She knows, I swear.
But she usually don't do all this.
Stop making me look like a dork. I swear all the time. I'm a
yes,
badass.
But not with me. Not with me.
No, but you're right, because we don't see that when we're children. We don't see the other side to that. We just see it from our eyes.
Right.
But our moms and our fathers, they're individuals with their own trauma, and they're trying to take care of us while they're battling their own mental illnesses.
Right. And as a single mom with my 3 oldest ones, I was a single mom, and I was so focused on just making sure. I mean, my life, far as when I was growing up, materialistic things, I had all that. I even had love, but there was a cost that, and I can remember when I made the decision to come live with my mom, my grandfather tried to bribe me with a brand new car. I didn't want it because my freedom of getting away from that particular environment was more important for me. And I was determined that I would never turn back. And so if it meant for me, working and putting myself through school and all that, I was going to be a success by my terms, not by anyone else's term. So I found...
And you are a success.
I thank you. I found myself when I had my children's wanting the best for them. It was like I wanted to live some of my dreams, and this is another thing that as parents we make. I wanted to live some of my dreams through them. For an example, I never got a chance to go to a prom. Guess what? I went to all 3 of my oldest kids' prom.
But you know what? You were there for them. I know you as a person, and you got to go. I never went to a prom. I'm going to my son's.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
But the thing is that I know that you didn't go with the mentality of I never went to a prom, so I'm going to theirs.
So let me put on this dress and makeup and no. I didn't do any of that. What I just wanted to see them. I didn't stay for the entire prom.
Wow.
I just wanted to see them. I made sure they had their own cars and stuff. I drove mine. I wanted to see them, and I left. They wouldn't allow me to do that with Isaiah, of course. I was a little disappointed, but that's okay.
Okay. That's really deep. You wanted to see your children live a life that you didn't have,
right?
And that's what good parents want for their children,
right? But it's a balance. Balance is so important to me. Everything there is a balance. You can be, too much. For an example,
definitely.
I never was a cheerleader. I wanted the girls to be a cheerleader. They did not want to be a cheerleader. I was so disappointed.
I was a cheerleader.
Oh, see, oh. But, so it has to be that balance,
Definitely. Yeah. So, I need you to drive home the point for our listeners, not just women, but men too.
Mm-hmm.
Women and men that are in hell right now, women and men that have never been to hell right now, parents, people, from your experiences personally with mental health, your experiences with me and others with mental health. struggling, controlling relationships, spirituality, religion. How do you find the balance? How do we help ourselves find that balance?
I say take it one day. Now, sometimes you can't even take it one day at a time. Take it minute by minute. Find some type of value within yourself. Talk to yourself. First of all, you have to learn to love yourself. And I know that can be hard. And that's the reason why I say start off by finding something that you like about yourself. No matter what no one else tells you, I'm here to tell you right now. If no one else have told you, God loves you and I love you. Okay. And I know,
believe her, guys.
yes. And some may say, who is God? What is God? I don't believe in God. But believe in yourself.
How though? How when you hate yourself? Because self-hatred is something that others
real.
have struggled with. I've struggled with it. How do you love that? That is an impossible concept for some people. How do they do it? How do we do it?
Let me say this, and this has been tried, tested, and proven to be a fact. You can tell yourself. Let me just back up a little bit. We talked about this the other day. This is what I believe. Okay, we talk about the different, entities and stuff. It's spirit, it's soul, heart, and mind. And this is what I say, thought starts in the spirit feeds the soul feeds the heart. And as scripture would tell you, what's in a man's heart, so shall he thinketh. What you think enough, you will put out in the atmosphere. So you have one or two things. As hard as it may be, that's the reason why I say find just one thing that you think you like, even if you're not certain that you like it about yourself. Tell yourself, start off, well, I think that looks nice. Then start telling yourself, well, yeah, it is looking nice.
That's how I did it.
Right. And you just start with baby steps. And there are going to be days that voice, that mate, that mother, whoever, that talks negative to you. And sometimes you have to surround yourself by change your surround. You can't change people, but you can change the people that you be around. If you know this person is always badgering you, always talking bad about you, then you don't need to be around that person until you build yourself up strong enough to start loving yourself. When you start loving yourself, then you teach other people how to love you by your actions.
And you 100% hit the nail. See, I was going to say hit the nail on the effing head, but I didn't. Hit the nail on the... You're welcome. I'm trying here. You hit the nail on the head, because the thing is that we cannot be around people that put us down, because we'll internalize it if you're not mentally strong enough. However, the worst person that you can be around sometimes is yourself.
Right.
It's the worst person.
Right. That's like I used to always say, and I still say this today. You and Michael Jackson said it oh so well. He started with the man in the mirror. That's about trying to make a difference for others. But what about starting with the man in the mirror to make that difference for yourself?
Done. 100. Wrap this up for us. Send it home.
All right. How should I wrap it up? This has been an awesome show. Thank you for having me. I look forward to coming back. And I want to close by saying, each and every person out there, you are someone important. If it's no one but to yourself, know that. Know that. You are valued and you are loved.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. Guys, we got Hostess Steph, Hostess Bri, Hostess Jazz, Hostess Ariel. Season 2 is going to be effing amazing. Don't judge me for saying effing, okay? I'm not a kid, but, my baby daddy's mama is here, so I have to control my mouth. This has been Blowing Lines. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you soon. Yes, video coming.